So tell me about this thing, or tell me about that thing.
Okay.
These aren't really what you use, though, right? Are these close to what you used?
No, I mean, so this would be like an M67 frag grenade, right? And it's basically like, here's your main charge and grenade body, and then like here's your initiation system, and then like, hey guys, what's
We're not
alive, not with the grenades, right?
Just set that down.
What's up, everybody?
Just set that down. Welcome to another. I mean, almost wasn't welcome to another TFP live stream.
Almost not a live stream.
Just kidding. Obviously, these are just pretend. These are just for fun, not real. But that's okay. Kind of like our gun rights here in New York.
They're just
not real.
pretend,
They're just pretend. Well, thank you for joining the Firing Pin live stream. I'm Brandon.
I'm Josh.
Pat.
Tyler, what's up, guys? Today we're doing another giveaway. This giveaway is actually more valuable than gold and your firstborns.
And hen's teeth.
A box of 9. Check that out. We'll tell you how to get this box of 9. Keep watching. I promise it'll be pretty easy for you guys. But you do not want to miss your chance for literally a piece of gold today.
It's a mighty fine prize there.
It is pretty good prize these days.
Do we have ammo like that to just, I mean, we must have just loads of it if we're just giving it away like that, right?
So I was able to secure some 9. It will be here tomorrow. I was able to secure some 5.56. We'll also be here tomorrow. We will have to put like some kind of limit on it just to make it, like somewhat fair,
Right.
to everybody. I mean, we can't sell all of it to one guy
Right.
or gal. But yeah, we will have some here tomorrow. It will probably go very fast if you want some.
Nice. We're getting some home defense shotguns too, right?
We have 14 home defense shotguns coming in.
Wow. That's awesome.
Some Savage 320s with some shorter 18.5-inch barrels.
Okay.
We also have 6, count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Glock 19s
Wow.
coming in.
Wow. That's really cool. Did you know they're still making Gen 3 Glock 19s?
I haven't seen one in a long time.
I
They're
didn't.
like actually in
Like
production.
brand new production. Yeah,
No kidding.
we're getting some.
Not seen one in a
they'll
long
be price, and yeah, we're slowly getting things. I mean, we're trying every day. This guy's back there hitting the phones, hitting the emails, beating up our reps, just getting what we can get for you guys, just really taking it to them, just merciless. Josh Hawkins from Parts Unknown.
Parts unknown.
Josh, putting you on the spot, if you could pick one gun up here, maybe to just talk about what's maybe your favorite gun up here?
Up here currently, long gun.
Anything. What do you like? Maybe a long gun and a handgun.
All right. If I had to pick a long gun right now to talk about, it would probably be this Stevens 555 Trap.
Yes.
Been selling lots and lots of trap guns. Single barrel. It's a break action. If you wanted to move the comb up, then you could do that. Pretty cool. Stevens, $650.
Look at that price.
$650. Yeah, we've been selling lots and lots of trap guns. Has a mid bead. Comes with 4 chokes.
Perfect for your student trap shooter or anyone. But
Yeah,
man, if your kid's on one of the local trap teams, there's your incentive.
Yeah,
I
think so. I like that a lot.
That's really nice for that price, having that adjustable comb there.
Yeah.
That's very, very nice.
Not talking handgun for 1 second, Josh. If there was one handgun up here that gets you like really excited,
So excited. Let's see.
It's just so hard to pick. There's just so many.
Oh, it's so easy to pick this one. The Sig Sauer P229 Legion, single action only, flat trigger, super sexy.
got a rail.
Super sexy gun. Has a rail, and you get into the Legion Club. You get a special challenge coin. It's got the Sig Sauer X-ray night sights on it. Just a hot piece of metal.
That trigger is super
Ouch.
sweet too.
Too hot.
Too hot to handle.
It's a nice handgun.
Great gun.
The finish on those,
$12.75 on that.
the camera. If you haven't seen one of those in person, the finish on those, the camera is not going to pick it up. Very, very nice. And yeah, being single action only, super cool. Now it will pick it up, and you're gonna make me look stupid.
Beautiful gun. Beautiful gun.
Super cool. Yeah, very nice. Very nice. Well, we've got a lot to talk about tonight, as always. Please, again, as always, leave your questions down below. We will try our best to answer them. We'd love it if they were gun related or radio related, but we'll kind of take any questions. I'm scared to say that out loud, but yeah, throw us your questions. We got you. Training. We've got some very cool training opportunities coming up very, very soon. August 16th is going to be our next USCCA class. That's from 1 till 5:30. That is a packed class. So I know we talk about the USCCA a lot on here. They fill that class with a ton of info. You do a great job. It's $100. It includes the book, which is a $30 value. So that's a very well $100 spent, I think.
Absolutely.
Especially if you really don't have any training, especially formal training. Like when we say training, again, your uncle the cop who showed you some tips, at the last family barbecue, that doesn't count. You know what I mean? Like you need to take real training. You really owe it to yourself and your loved ones. Owning the gun is not enough, right? So the value that you're getting for this class, I mean, you're going to go over. Why don't you talk about what you go over, just real brief, in the USCCA class?
So in USCCA class, we hit a lot of points, guys. We hit developing a personal protection and home defense plan, right? Talking about being proactive as opposed to reactive. What does that mean? How does that help you, right? We talk a little bit about actual selection of a defensive firearm, right? Some are better than others for specific applications and specific people.
Ouch,
for that
what are
matter.
you doing down there, Josh? It's so weird.
Bye, guys.
Have a good night, Josh.
See you, Josh.
Good to see you, man. Okay, so we're gonna talk a little bit about selecting a firearm, right? Then we're gonna get into some of the specifics of defensive shooting as opposed to marksmanship, right? Because those two things aren't necessarily the same, even though they kind of go together, right?
Sure.
Punching holes in paper targets, right? Versus defensive shooting. Those two things have some similarities, some overlap there,
Mhm.
but definitely not the same, right?
For sure.
So we want to hit some of those differences for you. We also talk a lot about the law, and this is my favorite section of that entire book.
Absolutely.
We get into that fourth chapter there. We talk about the law, and here in New York State, it's so important, guys, to make sure that you understand that we have a duty to retreat when we're out there in public. And what does that mean to you as a concealed carry permit holder? How can that potentially get you into trouble if you don't understand those 4 rules of armed self-defense? We can get into those more in the class. But we also talk a little bit about some of the physiological and the psychological effects of those critical threat incidents.
Sure.
And just give you that psychological basis so that when something happens and your body goes into some of those automated responses,
Sure.
right? Understanding what's actually happening to you from a physiological standpoint really puts those things into perspective.
Yeah.
It really helps you to control your emotions and your mind state within that situation,
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
just knowing what's happening on a subsurface level kind of gives you the ability to be more calm up above.
Yeah,
Kinda
you can
like that.
recognize it. You can,
We can push that stuff down, right? So kind of like the duck on the surface of the water. Up top, everything is calm and cool.
Sure.
Underneath, those legs are paddling like hell, but nobody really knows. Right?
Sure,
So
sure.
same
I like
kind
that.
of idea.
Nice. No, do you still have seats for your pistol mechanics class?
So the pistol mechanics class this coming Sunday, I do. Unfortunately, guys, with all my traveling and stuff like that, it didn't get updated, I think, on the Facebook page for you guys and on the website. So that's on me there. But yeah, if you guys wanted to register for that pistol mechanics class coming up Sunday, I'll make sure that the listing gets on the site probably by tomorrow. But for those of you who are interested, you can always call here to the store and sign up. We do have like 3 slots still
That,
open.
as good as the USCCA class is, I think everyone should take that. If you're going to carry a gun for self-defense or even just have a gun in the home for self-defense, that's the course to take.
Yep,
Right.
it's a great one.
Or even really someone thinking about it. We had someone call the other day and they said, my daughter is thinking about getting a firearm. And this is a great class to, this is what you're kind of up against, or this is what you've got, this is what goes along.
This is what you're
with,
signing up for, right?
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
When you decide that you want to obtain a gun for personal protection, for home defense and stuff like that, understand that there's a lot of responsibility that comes along with it. We like to talk about rights, we like to talk about freedom, but we don't spend a lot of time talking about responsibility.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
when we go and we petition the court and we say, hey, I would like to carry, this deadly force instrument that is not, permissible for everybody to carry. We're accepting that comes along with a certain level of expectation.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
That we're going to do the right thing, that we know what the right thing is to do before we put ourselves in that situation. And if we don't, then some really bad stuff can happen to us from not only a legal perspective, guys, but also, morally, financially,
Sure.
From an ethical standpoint, your community is going to be changed by, your potential actions if you are out there using a gun for self-defense. So just know that not everything, is not every scenario is going to play out the way that we depicted in our mind.
Right. Right.
So,
But that USCCA class, that's going to be 100% in the classroom. It's just a lecture-based class. So again, it's open to anybody. Really,
it's instructor-led,
yeah,
but there is some discussion back and
right,
forth.
right. The pistol mechanics class, that is going to be really your first entry into training with Pat.
And
really,
that world of concealed carry.
and the world of even like competitive shooting or bigger, like if you wanted to go to, say, SIG Academy, or if you wanted to go to a Larry Vickers class, or like a big name, even like Bull Creek Strategic. If you went to one of our buddies' classes, like there's a certain base level of knowledge
That's expected before you even get to the
workspace,
the range,
admin reload, proactive reload, emergency reload. There's just terms and there's a base level you need to get to. And that's what Pat's pistol fundamentals, or pistol mechanics, I should say, class gets you to.
Right, exactly. That's just to make sure that when you hear some of those terminologies that Brandon's throwing out there, our proactive reload, our emergency reload, what do those two things mean? I thought there was only one way for me to load my gun, right?
Sure.
But in reality, there's multiple different reload mechanics or techniques that we may need to use. Some involve retaining a magazine. How do we do that, right? And there's a level of skill required to be able to do that. So in the mechanics class, go over not only getting the gun safely out of the holster, but also when I press that trigger, if I get a click as opposed to a bang,
Sure.
how do I solve that issue, right? Because the idea is operating a handgun successfully and well, as proficiently, requires a base level of knowledge, right? But it takes up a certain amount of bandwidth in your mental capacity, right?
Yep.
So I only have so much room, so much processing power up here. If I'm spending a lot of that processing power on what's happening right here, I'm missing out on the bigger picture of what's going on out here, right? So I want to take this to a subconscious level of understanding where whatever's happening with the handgun, I've got it under control, and then everything else up here becomes that much easier because I'm not mentally processing like what's going on right here, right? It's all subconscious. It's all baked into the cake already. I know what to expect from my gun, right?
So they're trying to get away from the term muscle memory, but muscle memory, I guess.
So muscle memory, yeah, I prefer to say like kinesthetic memory, right? Or building that neural pathway, right? So that we're just connecting our motor cortex with what our body is actually doing, right? So just engaging that mind multiple times over and over and over again, we're going to hone some of those neural pathways and get to that path of least resistance where I can just manipulate the gun without even having to think about it.
I thought gun classes were just like 9mm or 45. I didn't think they'd be like cortexes and stuff. You're getting. I'm just
so yeah, we do.
That's the level of professionalism. Like we are a science-based, research-driven, and we do our own research.
It has to be, there has to be a certain amount of real information that's in there because it's not all just like gun go bang or gun go click, me fix, right? I wish it were that easy. I'm a knuckle dragger, right? Like, at my most basic level, I just want that thing to work and then that's it. But if it doesn't, then, we do need to know what comes after that. So the price of that mechanics class, again, you're getting an insane value. That's a 3-hour class, and that is almost all. You start in the classroom, of course, with a safety briefing and a range briefing.
That's a $75 class that I would say for sure most of it, at least 2 hours of it, you're in the range, probably 2.5, right?
Yep.
So you are getting a ton of value again from Pat, and just going in that range and working on some of these things. I couldn't tell you how many people have taken this class that have been coming here for years, have been shooting their entire lives.
Right.
And it's just one of those things, until you take an actual class, you don't know what you don't know, and you don't know what the expectations are. And yeah, there are guys that can go in that range and they can shoot great all day long.
Until we put them on a timer.
Or you put them in a timer, or in front
until
of
we
other
introduce
people.
a malfunction into the right.
Yep.
So
Yep.
At layering some of those things, guys, it's one thing to be able to stand there on the static range with everything working in your favor and be able to press the trigger. It's another thing to be able to solve problems. And that's what we're trying to create with our curriculum. We're trying to create free thinkers, people who are able to not just do what Uncle Pat told you to do because that's what Uncle Pat said.
Yeah.
We're able to have multiple tools in our toolbox to solve problems and think about these things as they really happen, which is in real time.
Yeah. So that's all on August 16th. We've still got plenty of seats available for those. I don't know if it's current, like as of right this minute, but for sure, either tonight or first thing tomorrow, check our Facebook events page. We'll have all these classes.
That one will be
links.
up there. The one for the 30th will be up there.
Or send us an email, sellmeyourgun@gmail.com. Send us an email. Send us a Facebook message. We'll get you in these classes. If these fill up, we'll always book more.
Oh, 100%.
You know,
It's all demand driven, right?
Right.
Whatever the demand is, that's what we're going to schedule.
And Pat and I were just talking, hopefully the next day or two here, we're going to have a majority of our classes posted for the next 2 to 3 months,
Yep.
Almost for the rest of the year moving forward. So these things are posted well in advance, give you time to sign up, give time for them to fill up so we can book another one,
and give us time
fill it
to
up.
train or plan our training calendar too, because we've got events that we need to get to and train for, and we've got stuff
Absolutely.
that we want to get done on our side so that we can continue to get better for you guys as well, so that every time you're coming, the information being put out is current and it's we're
Absolutely.
with the times.
Absolutely. So speaking of doing our own research and putting ourselves out there, as we spoke about in our last live stream, Pat was very busy this past weekend and had a lot of fun and just really made all of us here proud. We were blown away. First of all, I was blown away again by how seriously you took it. Now, I know, again, it is your job, or a big part of it is your job, but
What I do, yeah.
you really, in my opinion, stepped up and you were training for this.
Mm-hmm.
And you really busted your butt and you put the sweat in, and it showed. I mean, you were out there. Why don't you tell people? I don't want to interrupt, but Tyler, do you have any
We'll get back to
interruptions
that.
for us or messages for us or anything? Any comments? Did anybody
I
think
do.
we're cool?
Thanks for checking with our beautiful viewers. First off, Pat, today's a special day for you. Your wife made sure to check in and, wish you a happy anniversary.
Happy
Aw.
anniversary. Love you. I'll see you in a bit.
So cute. So cute. I love you guys.
35 years, right?
Subtract 20 when you please. 15 years.
Questions are rolling in. One of the first ones, are we okay switching topics, I guess?
Yeah, maybe
Let's
maybe
switch gears
just
for a little
before-
bit. Yeah, let's get
before we
with
hit the
viewers.
big, before
Yeah,
we hit the big
no, check in
topic.
with them.
This one's not gun related. This one's radio related.
Love
Right
it.
off the bat.
Try me.
Xerox Tower, is that up and running yet?
Oh man, so it is not, unfortunately. I made a phone call this afternoon and I have been promised this weekend. So we will see if it doesn't happen this weekend. I think we're getting ready to protest or something. I don't
Ooh,
know.
a protest?
We'll do a big, we'll show up, where we need to show up. I'm just kidding, of course, but it's one of those things where what we're getting, first of all, the access to that site in any capacity is unheard of. Once Xerox really stopped owning that tower,
Sure.
there was a Xerox ham club. There still is a Xerox ham club. They had a repeater on that tower, and I don't believe it's active anymore because of Xerox not being in that building. So it's one of those things that the access there, like anybody else, if you called them up and you wanted to put a tower or a system up there, it'd be $2,000 a month. And that's just pretty much unattainable for anyone, right? Even us, that's not attainable.
That's
So
too much, yeah.
we have a connection who is allowing us to operate through his system, which I don't know the technical details. Andrew explained it would take a whole live stream, but he could explain how it works. And basically we can piggyback off of his system with our system, and very cool. And it's one of those things where you can't look a gift horse in the mouth. Like we're getting an unbelievable connection, and I don't want to say a deal per se, like money wise, but just the ability to put it up there at all, because they're full. I don't think you could put something up there even if you had the money.
Sure.
So just to have something on the highest point in Rochester, the highest building for sure in Rochester, worth waiting for. I know it's a struggle. We've been saying 2 weeks. I've continually been told, 2 weeks since like May, I want to say. So I promise, keep your radios, handy, and fingers crossed. Sometime very, very soon, you'll start hearing. As soon as it's live, trust me, you'll know about it. We'll post about it and we'll be chatting it up.
Yeah, these guys won't keep that a secret for long, and you'll be able to hear them everywhere.
Oh man, it'll be fun. It'll be fun. Nice.
What else you got, Ty?
I want to know how you guys are doing. Tell me about your day. How you feeling?
I'm doing good. I've been spending a lot of time with the family. We've been working on a lot of projects. We've got, spending more time with the family, but I've never been busier with all the side projects. And people always pick on me that they never see me here. And that's just because I've got a great team here that I can really let them run the show. And that's what they're good at. And that's what they love to do. Not that I don't love it. Don't take it that way. But we're just trying to get more and more things and better things going for you folks. So, I'm doing great. What about you, Pat? How are you recovering?
Well, first of all, recovery, no factor, right? Like I came home and I was good to go.
You came home Sunday and did a 5-mile run, didn't you?
No, I came home Sunday and I went to the house and tried to get some sleep. I could not sleep for the life of me. But Monday morning, Loki was chasing me up and down the stairs in my house all day. What have you been up to? Because it's not taking care of your dog, right? So I had to hook the dog up, and he took me on about a 2.5 mile run.
Nice.
And we ran at about a 7.5 minute mile pace, which that's not really my pace generally. That's more of Loki's pace, but it was pretty good. I got a chance to stretch my legs out a little bit.
Nice.
And then let's see, yesterday being Wednesday, I put my gear on for the first time since I've been back home, and we ran about 4.5 miles.
Wow.
So we were getting after that a little bit, and that was pretty cool. And today I actually was able to sign up for my second Tactical Games.
I saw that.
So I'm very, very excited to let all of you guys know that watch the live stream. All my friends and family out there, I will be competing again in the Tactical Games. This one is 22 and 23 May, I believe, are the dates, up at the Sig Sauer Academy in Epping, New Hampshire. So
you'll have a slight advantage because you've been there.
I've been there a bunch of times, right? So I
know
kind of know the lay of the land a little bit.
What
I
shoes
know the
to bring.
terrain. I'm not going to have to worry about which specific shoes should I wear, right? And I know a lot of the instructor guys up there, so it's going to be kind of going to see some friends of mine too.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool.
That would be cool.
And obviously, I'm excited to get back out there and compete. I did pretty well in this past event. I was able to secure a top 20 finish within my my category, which is the intermediate division for men. So I was pretty excited about that. There were 70 competitors out there in my division.
Yeah.
So top 20, in there is pretty good. There were some really good shooters, really fit individuals there that really were getting after it. And it showed because they did a great job.
Yeah.
And there were some events out there. I did really well on about 4 of the 6. And there were 2 that just, based on the training that I had done and the gaps, I guess, in the training that I was putting in, I just wasn't totally ready and prepared for some of the more endurance-based stuff.
Sure.
Some of
tough.
the elevation, we ran this one hill where, the inclines were pretty steep, the terrain was pretty rocky, and hard to replicate something like that around here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the other issue that I ran into was obviously when I run in Batavia and the local area and stuff like that, I wear my vest, and that's one thing, but I can't run with my long gun slung. I can't run with a full complement of magazines. Can't run with my pistol belt on.
Bro.
Yeah.
Second Amendment, bro.
Yeah. Well, I hope you got bail money. I'm gonna need some of that.
There's no bail. So what's
the? Oh, no cash bail.
Yeah,
that's
we
right.
got to lose.
Roll the dice, I guess.
All right,
right?
let's go.
So, but yeah, being in that extra 20-ish pounds of gear between my 7-pound rifle and the 2-pound handgun and all the magazines and the belt itself, just added a little bit.
I'm just
more.
envisioning like Mark Lawrence getting that call, like in Batavia, like Pat, what are you doing?
Like, who told you this was a good
Yeah.
idea? Like,
Come on.
what is the matter? with you?
That's so funny.
Really hoping I didn't have to
Sergeant
arrest.
Coffee coming out or whatever. Like,
I
what are
know,
you doing?
Yeah.
I feel bad though. I'm sorry. Ty, how are you doing, buddy? How are you doing? You're sitting over there all sulky. I feel like you think we forgot about you.
I exist.
You exist. Dobie can speak.
You matter. Tyler Lives Matter.
I'm doing wonderful. I got to work the counter today, so I love working with people. Yeah, working the counter usually puts me in a good mood. Sometimes some people are just, you just hang
People are
hang
people,
with them.
right?
Yeah.
Retail. Yeah, sometimes retail's retail.
Yeah.
Did you get a haircut?
I did.
Look
Yeah.
good.
Looks sharp.
It looks very
Thank you.
Put together.
fresh. Where do you go? Where do you get your haircut?
There's actually this great place. I used to go to Shannon, Josh's wife.
Yep.
I lived closer out to here, but now that's like 40 minutes away from me.
Sure.
So I go to Next Level in Rockport, and I love them.
Yeah.
It's just cool to get like that bro time. You know what I mean? They're Pro 2A, so they always ask me questions. When nobody's in the store, they're always asking me about my gear, like who I train with, and it's always fun. Yeah. So other than that, I do apologize for having the loudest chair in the entire store. It's really hard to sit still, but yeah, you're gonna hear some squeaks.
It's all right.
No worries.
So you can't like microdose some type of methamphetamine or something to stop you from being so squirmy, just so amped up. You just love the Second Amendment so much.
This live stream brought to you by Adderall.
Oh man, I hope. Well, we can't get demonetized, so who cares, right? We're not monetized anyways. We can say whatever we want, right? Sure. All right. So the meat and potatoes of tonight, we really wanted to talk about the tactical games,
Yeah.
and just before we get too deep in the weeds on that, it is fun to compete. It is a great learning experience. There are so many benefits to competing and all of this that Pat's doing. But one of the bigger reasons that we're doing this is to hopefully bring that up here, and I'm sure we'll be talking about this later, but I just wanted to, foreshadow, I guess, everything we are really trying to, again, we've talked about this a lot with Polar Wave. That is the end goal with Polar Wave, is to make that a competition field and a training ground and just really bring something to this region that doesn't exist, and I know the tactical games are going to be a great way to do that. I think they're the right people to hook up with. And they had a heck of an event. I was very impressed. So why don't you speak about, the games a little bit and just tell people, I know we've talked about it before a little bit, but not so much here. Like, why don't you tell people what it is? Maybe to start?
So it was a 2-day competition. There were 6 battles total, 3 per day. And it was very interesting because my intermediate group, we were broken down by squad numbers, right? So 0 through 20, you guys are going in this direction. 21 through 32, your group is going in this direction. And so everybody kind of, got assigned their different lanes where they were starting. And we went over to the different events, got briefed up about what the expectations were, what we were about to do. And then you're just kind of waiting your turn to actually go through the course. So you got a chance to kind of see other people go through, unless you were the first ones kind of running through the event. I had a good opportunity to kind of sit back and look and kind of try to game plan. Well, when I make the, turn out of the lane, I got to go over here. And I want, here's my plan to kind of move and negotiate these series of obstacles. And then I have to, go. There was like a little track and you had to like run a couple. I don't want to give up too much information on those guys because every event's going to be a little bit different anyway. But it was basically like a workout where you're doing circuits, and in between every circuit, you're required to do some shooting.
Yeah.
Right? So you're testing your fitness when you're doing the circuit portion, your shooting ability under some form of exertion, stress, and against the clock after you complete the circuit. So they were set up so you could do it up to 4 times if you had the time. I ended up doing of that first event, which was pretty much the norm.
Sure.
So I was very, very happy to have completed the 3, the 3 runs through the station in time.
Nice.
So that was really good. Challenging. The pistol shooting was very, very challenging. The long gun shooting was, relatively easy. Something I spend a lot of time working on. So I wasn't, really wasn't a lot of effort for me to meet the standard with a lot of the long gun shooting.
Yeah.
But the handgun shooting was really tough.
Those were small targets.
Very small targets, challenging distances and all that good stuff. I was able to get some hits, so that was good. And I was also able to diagnose why I was missing some of those targets, which to me is even more important. Right? Like understanding, okay, you didn't get the hits is one thing, but being able to self-diagnose, really takes you to that next higher level of intelligence and really helps you to achieve that next level of proficiency. So that's what I was really focused in on, was trying to see where the holes in my game were and what I need to kind of, hone in on this upcoming event.
And if I may interject a little bit too, there's obviously many different ways you can approach a competition like this. We were talking about this like during the competition, during your breaks and stuff. There are some, and none of these are wrong. Don't get don't get me wrong that I'm shitting on any of these. Some of these they're all valid reasons to do things, maybe except for not one. But there are guys that they find every advantage that they can. They get every, if it's a
all the high
hard, if it's
speed
if it's this. I know we were, I think, joking about last week. Like there was a guy who like every event had a different pair of shoes, or just different shoes for different events. Which, again, like there's that. I call that kind of like the Olympic athlete approach. Like the goal is to win, and I
want to win every single event.
We're gonna do whatever we can, like to
give
there.
Me an advantage.
With that, that's cool to win events and be up on that podium. That's cool.
Absolutely.
There's also, and I think this was maybe not that, again, that wasn't your goal, but I think maybe your primary goal was like, this is kind of me. This is my loadout. Would be like, not that we're always thinking of prepping and like shit hits the fan and things like that, but this is realistically what I would do work in. We'll say
this is the gear that I've selected for whatever work I think I might be called on or required to do. Right, and based on that loadout, what can I do right now?
Yeah.
Right.
And this is the best way, this is just like those mechanics classes and the pistol shooting classes we were talking about earlier. This is where you find the holes and find where your deficiencies are. And like, wow, if I'm trying to do this, which, like, the farmer's carry, right? Super realistic in any type of situation. I'm sure when you were in combat, there were situations where, there's things happening and I've got all my gear on and I got to carry heavy stuff. And
if it's not a casualty, right, then you've got to carry some piece of equipment, right?
Yeah.
Water cans, ammo, fuel, whatever, fill in the blank, right? So you need to be mobile in your stuff, right? And you need to be able to lift other heavy objects up to and including the body weight of another human being while wearing your stuff.
Which is definitely some of those they were, right? Like,
easily. At one point in time we were carrying some, the farmers carry like dumbbell type guys.
80 pounds each or 100 pounds on each side.
There was 45 on the front end and 25 on the back end, so it's 70 pounds of weight.
Sure.
Plus the farmers carry bars themselves. I would put those probably around 25 pounds.
Sure.
So I'll multiply by 2. You're looking at about 190 pounds. Yeah. Now I weigh about 165, right?
Same here. Yeah. Same here.
So exactly, right? Yeah. So when I'm carrying those things and I'm wearing my full gear, understand that I'm carrying my body weight and then some, plus my actual body weight, plus all of the kit that I'm trying to carry, right? So on that particular event, not having been able to get in the gym, right, because of COVID-19 and all that different stuff, and not being, honestly, maybe creative enough with some of the other methods as far as getting some heavy loads to work under and stuff like that.
Sure.
My strength suffered a little bit. So I wasn't as strong as I wanted to be. So I wasn't able to complete that. I was able to complete it a couple of times, but I wasn't able to keep going back and completing it over and over and over again. Same thing with that hill. I didn't spend enough time doing endurance type events where it's like 60 minutes plus, right? Sure. Generally speaking, my runs, we talked about it, I do about 5 miles. I run 5 miles in roughly 40 to 45 minutes, depending on the day, depending on what I'm wearing, depending on the dog, right? Because he's obviously sometimes he's like really fast and sometimes he's not. So, But if I'm not pushing it past that 45-minute mark, then when I hit that 45-minute mark, my body knows, like,
Sure.
okay, we should be near the finish line now.
Yeah.
So, right, it's time to kind of ramp down. So just some of those little adjustments that we need to make moving forward going into SIG. But, you know, I've also got some training partners now.
Yeah.
I don't want to put anybody on the spot, but
I
I'm
think
going
you should.
to.
I think
Yeah,
you should.
Steve
Yeah.
Filano from 2A NYS. He actually registered before I registered. And then I saw his post on the Facebook and I was like, all right, well, I guess we're committed now at this point. So let's do it. Right. I also, as soon as I posted that stuff, that I was going to go, I saw some of the other guys from the event that I was just at.
I thought that was super cool. Like, I recognized that one guy, the Marine,
Mhm.
right?
Oh,
Yeah.
John Wood. Yeah.
John,
So
yeah.
John is going
I
to
just
be
like
there as well.
noticed him, you know, the short time I was there that day, like,
Right.
to watch you. I like saw him and just,
So
yeah.
funny story about John, right? He was actually in group 25. I was in group 26. We were both in lane 1. So we were actually competing in the same lane. Like he was going first,
Sure.
and then I was going after him
Yeah.
every single event,
Sure.
right? So I saw John 5 out of the 6 events. He was like right there in front of me, and we
Yeah.
were talking back and forth. He was there with his fiance. And so I was like there cheering him on, you know,
Super cool.
John,
Yeah.
like, get it, man. And he was doing the same thing for me, you know. So as soon as I registered for the event, we had already become Facebook friends.
Yeah.
I hit him up on Facebook and I was like, hey man, are you going to be out there? And he was like, yep. I was just about to
Posted
message
his-
you,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And
I
he
saw
posted
that.
his thing.
It's awesome.
So a guy I met out there named Tiberius Gibb. He works for Inforce,
Very cool.
and he's also like a New England guy.
Yeah.
So he's going to be up there. And another guy that was out there, Abraham. I'm sorry, I don't remember Abraham's last name, but he's a fellow New Yorker. And he has trained at SIG multiple times as well.
Very cool.
And he also is one of the guys competing in intermediate once again. So
Nice.
I'm going to see some familiar faces. I get to travel with my own friends from home.
Yeah.
Hopefully Josiah will make the opportunity to join us too.
Hopefully.
And
Yeah.
I'm really excited to, get working with those guys and see how we can all keep getting better for this next 9 months and hopefully go up there and crush it.
It was definitely a cool, you know, obviously you're all competing against everybody else, you know, you got your different divisions, you know,
Right.
absolutely. But, you know, the camaraderie, you know, and it goes right back to the Virginia rally that I went to in January.
Sure.
And it was that same kind of energy and vibe, you know, like, yeah, everybody's competing against each other, but we're all here, you know, exercising our two-way rights and having a blast and just, you know, going through this thing together. It was cool. That was a very,
Everyone out there that I had the opportunity to like interact with on a personal level, they all kind of said the same thing, right? Like they
Yeah.
all said, yeah, on the one hand, I'm here to compete and I'm here to do the best that I can possibly do. And so in that sense, you know, I want to do better than the people that are also here competing against me. But in the other sense, I want everybody here to do the best that they can do. And I want everybody here to do really well because that's what makes us a stronger community, right?
sure.
And knowing that those guys were out there cheering for me, you know, and I was out there cheering for them, like you don't get that in many
Sure.
competitive
Sure.
venues like that. So I thought
Yeah.
that speaks really highly of our community. And that's one of the reasons I want to keep trying to go back to things like this because you build that network of like-minded
Absolutely.
individuals. Right?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
it's pretty cool.
Ty, we got any questions about anything, tactical games or anything we should hit on before we keep talking about it?
Nothing on tactical games, but
What else you
questions
got?
are rolling in if you want to.
Yeah, no,
Yeah, why don't
we can change gears a little
take
bit.
take a little question break
Sure.
from TG.
Let's talk to our viewers.
Somebody, sorry, I should have written your name down. I'm bad at this. First day. Asked if there's still delays on Knicks. That's a hard question to answer because yes, there's always delays on Knicks. But why don't we talk about Knicks? Why don't we talk about what goes into Knicks?
Sure. I would love to. So back in 2016, I believe it was, James used to work here, James Skaggs. Him and myself, we actually had an opportunity to take a tour of the FBI facility down in Virginia
Oh, that's cool.
that where Knicks is based out of, and that was incredible. I think it's on some of like the TV show, like they'll show like a picture of the FBI headquarters or whatever, but it's literally in between, like there's two mountain ridges and there's this huge valley in the middle of it, and there's like one road in on the one side, there's one road in on the other side, and everything's controlled inside of there. It's almost like a little like Area 51 in a sense, like
Right.
completely controlled. And there's like 20 or 30,000 people that work in this facility. Like it's huge, big enough. Like they have their own daycare and all these facilities. Incredible. We actually had to submit paperwork. We had to do like whatever level the 4473 is, whatever type of background check the government considers that. We had to do like the next level up from that. We had to submit paperwork to the FBI. They did background checks on James and myself just to tour the facility. Right? Yeah, just to tour the facility on like a completely guided, controlled thing. That was only sent out by invite to FFLs already. So I thought that was kind of funny. So we go there and we park, and they had us like leave our vehicles at a visitor center. We got on a bus, and they bussed us to the actual facility. They had everybody. Now, again, these are all gun owner, these are all FFLs, gun shop owners. Right. Then everybody off the bus, and a dog runs through, a bomb sniffing dog, I'm presuming. Sure. They sniff everybody. All right, everybody can get back on the bus. Like, it was a serious thing. And it was really interesting. We got several presentations about the NICS process. We got to meet, not that it really matters, but some of the key people from NICS, and just to hear about, on our end, it's just a website that we go to or a phone number that we call, right, and we read them or type in your information from the form, and we get a yes or no. And that's about our only interaction with them. So it's just cool to see, like, wow, there are people here. This is their job, and they really do care. And one of the takeaways from that for me was that they really, truly do care. And when they're watching the news and they see something, terrible happen with a firearm, just like all of us, it makes us sick, and they hate it. And their fear is that they approved that background check, and maybe somebody that should not have gotten a gun got one. And I guess that was the thing that struck me was how much human involvement there really is with that process still. I mean, there are plenty of us, like myself, I've been a good boy. When I do a 4473, it comes back instantly, right? I've never had a delay. I've never had any of those issues. But there are some people who have not had the best, or maybe their identity got stolen, or there's many reasons.
Common name, something like
so
that.
Much, right. And I'm building to a point, trust me. But when you get a delay, or even if it gets to a researching, we get that all the time. You have to hang out here for 20 minutes or something, and the little sand dial thing is just keep going, on the computer. And there is literally a human in Virginia who's looking at your record and seeing like, oh, he did this. Oh, it was, expunged, or oh, it was this. Like, okay, he's good. And a human makes that yes or no decision. A lot of the times, and it was very interesting, a lot of the people that get delays, there are so many databases that feed NICS its information, from the state to three-letter agencies to the VA. Yeah, like there are so many records. And then again, like I have lived a relatively simple life to the government. I'm in the same state I've always lived in. Like I really haven't done much according to the government. But there are some people that have lived in 12 different states across this, and they've done this, and they've maybe committed a crime over here, or they've done this over there. So it can get extremely complicated. And I would wager 8 or 9 times out of 10, if you get a delay, usually it's literally because they can't connect to a database. Might be you come in, and for whatever reason, for that 5-minute window when I submitted the check, they couldn't connect to the Department of Defense database to see if you got a dishonorable discharge. Right. They know you were in the military. They got to check that first. And then it just goes into the delay system, and it gets routed over there. And now it could be over there, depending on where you fall. You know what I mean? So
or whatever,
then you're in that queue, So it is one of those things. And most people that get delays, they do get to proceed. It's just a simple, not a misunderstanding, but it's literally mostly an IT issue most of the times. Obviously, some people, it is a very complicated thing to look at your record, and there are certain crimes that in one state, it precludes you from owning a gun because of the punishment, whereas that same crime in another state, it doesn't. Right. So there's a lot to it. And it was really eye-opening. And man, I cannot imagine what they're going through now with the numbers of guns that are being sold. I mean, when I went, I want to say they were in like the 1.2 to maybe touching some days they would do like 2 million a day, or sorry, 2 million checks a month, right? Now I think it's consistently like 2 to 3 million plus checks a month. Like this whole year, it's just been nuts. And it's one of those jobs, it's not like you can just post an ad like on Craigslist, like, stop by FBI headquarters, like
Right, fill out an application.
$12 an hour,
Right.
like doesn't work like that. So it is hard to find good people that'll, be trained up, and unfortunately they probably can't pay that well. You know what I mean? It's just one of those,
It's the government, yeah, they don't. Pay
one of
that.
those things. So somewhere here, I don't know if I hung it up here. I actually have a little, must be back on my desk. They had an FBI gift shop in there. So of course I bought like a little FBI like junior deputy badge. And I was like wearing it around like the rest of the day, just strutting my stuff. And they're like, this retard over here. Like, what is this guy doing?
Look at me,
Like,
I got my little.
yeah,
bag.
run that background check again.
That's awesome.
But I guess going back to a very long-winded question, answer to your question, the delays that we are receiving, I would say are 100%, again, just
related to volume.
IT based. Yeah, they just can't handle it. And it's just one of those things. Don't take it personally, I guess. We have no control over it. They give us a yes or a no or a wait, basically. And it is what it is. And you can think politically whatever you want about that, about funding and strings, and maybe they're slowing things down or speeding things up.
Right.
You know what I mean? We could talk all day about that if we wanted to. But that's, I would say, the crux of the issue.
And the other thing too that I would say, just to kind of elaborate a little bit more on your point, is when people do get a delay or any whatever answer you get, could be a deny. We don't know any more about it than
Right.
that. Like
Right.
that's all that we get. So if somebody gets a delay, generally the first thing is, well, why? And like, listen, for one, I don't know. And then secondarily to that, not for nothing, but generally speaking, I don't care.
Right.
Not that I don't care about you or your life,
Right.
but like I'm not here to make value judgments
Yeah,
about any of that stuff, right?
Right.
So if you do come in and get a delay,
Right.
like please don't feel some need to be embarrassed or some need to feel
Or like explain it to us.
right,
Yeah.
or like because I've had people like try to like explain.
I
to
only
me,
hit her a little bit.
like,
Like,
right,
just
or
one good.
I was really young, or like I did such and such a thing. Like, listen, man. For one, like I've made mistakes in my life as well.
It was
I'm a
8
human
years
being
for the road.
But then the other thing is like again, we don't get any sort of information outside of
Right.
yes, no, or maybe.
Yeah.
Right.
Literally.
So
Yeah.
that's all
Yep.
that we know.
I wish we did though. It'd be so awesome. If we got like their detailed report. It'd be so cool.
Yeah, but I don't. There's some details about your life I just don't want to know.
Tyler touched how many goats?
It was college.
All of them said yes. By the way, consent is everything.
Oh man.
That is the statement of the night.
Consent is everything.
Switch topic. Kevin Benjamin has asked a couple questions, but I'm going to get to his first question. We're going to handguns.
Mhm.
Okay. What night sights are the best, or which ones do we recommend?
Oof. What night sights are the best? Wow, that is like one of the most subjective questions. Like, right? Because the best is the one that I can see. Right? Like
Sure.
ultimately, like
We all have preferences. Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna just say Trijicon. I think
they're
they
quality,
are
they're well made.
the highest quality. Yeah, they're the industry leader. I'll put it that way.
Yep,
You know,
absolutely.
I would never, as long as they are quality and as long as you are confident in them, I hate seeing people get cheap stuff just because it's the cheapest. Like, oh, I've got $20 today and I need night sights today.
Right.
Like, well, maybe wait, and buy the slightly better ones or whatever. But yeah, it's so subjective. There are so many options. Even if we just narrowed it down, I just want, what are the best Trijicon night sights? They make 50 different ones.
Yep.
Let
me grab something right quick. Keep
Sure. Yeah. I mean, and you could spend all day talking about, like my personal preference. If I'm going to get those aftermarket sights like that, I like the front sight when it's a different color than your two rear dots. Ty, I don't know. Do you have any guns with night sights? What do you have on yours? Do you know? Or what do you,
my Glock 17 has just Glock night sights.
factory? Yeah.
Yeah.
Three dot, right? Yeah. Yeah.
So, Ty, I'm not sure you help me out with getting this
Yeah.
in front of the camera a little bit. And I'm muzzling myself. Yep, got it.
Let's go to this camera and get like close.
How are we looking there?
Yes.
Okay, so this
Yeah.
is an Ameriglow Hackathorn set. Okay, the Hackathorn set is pretty neat. because it's got the blacked out rear and the single orange dot in the front. So that single orange dot in the front to me is everything, because now I don't have to worry about my rear sight in a low light situation clouding up my field of view, right? My rear sight is blacked out, so I can pay attention to what's important, which is my front sight, right? Because that's where the muzzle of the gun is, right? So understand that for night sights, because bad stuff does typically happen in low light hours, right? If I am using my night sights, then I know that's going to give me a reference point to the muzzle. And if I have a bunch of dots back here, particularly if they're the same size or color, like Brandon was alluding to earlier, that can kind of clutter my visual field. So what I want is something to draw my attention out here where it matters, right? So to me, the Ameriglow iDot Pros are another really good example of something like that. It's got one smaller dot back here in the rear to kind of give you a reference point to the alignment of that front sight relative to the rest of the gun, so that you're not, you know, your front sight's not looking over here, but the rear of your slide is cocked off to one side or the other. It gives you kind of that true reference point to the alignment of the rest of that gun.
Yeah.
But I do like the Ameriglow sights a lot. Wilson Combat makes some really nice
really good ones,
sights.
yeah.
I have on my Glock 45, I have their single fiber optic dot in the front with a black rear, and the blacked out rear notch happens to be a U-shaped notch.
I like those.
Which the U-shaped cutout to me is huge, because the dot in the front, guys, is round, right? So if the cutout down here is square, I'm trying to literally put a round dot into a square
Yeah.
opening, right? Whereas if I have a round opening in reference to a round dot, those two things together make sense,
Yeah.
right? So that really helps me out a lot there as well. But if I do have 3 dots, generally I want the Ameriglow Spartan style, where it's like 2 eensy beensy little dots back here, and then one bigger one up here, because again, it really sucks my eye to the front sight, which
Sure.
is my most important reference point, right?
Makes sense. One thing to keep in mind with night sights is they don't last forever either. Trijicons, most I would say that use tritium, what is it, a 10-year half-life? So
I think Trijicon
like-
says 10 on their packaging.
So the day you get it, you know, every day they get a little dimmer, a little dimmer. I mean, it's a huge, you're not going to notice it day to day, obviously, but 5, 6, 10 years down the road, they will be significantly dimmer. So, you know, go back through again. When did you buy that carry gun? Like, you know, just plan for these types of things. It's not something you use. Again, we talk about dry fire practice all the time. And if you've got a firearm that you have night sights on, that's going to be maybe your home defense gun, try them out. You know, do some dry fire practice using, you know, turn all the lights off tonight and just try that, right?
But clear the guns out first, guys,
Yeah.
please.
No, please.
Status checks.
Yeah, it's just status checks are free. And to go back to Pat, when you were showing the camera the pistol and it was pointed right at you, didn't that just give you like the heebie-jeebies? Didn't that just?
I mean, yeah, I'm not a fan, right, of having my muzzle oriented toward anything I'm not willing to put a bullet into. Obviously, my own head would not be something I'm willing to put a bullet into, right? So I get that, guys. That's why we lock the action open, right? And that's why, you know, I have to make that statement. Yes, I'm muzzling myself. There's a reason behind it, right?
Sure.
But at the same time, that's not it's not a best practice,
Right.
but we live in the real world, right?
Sure.
So real quick, I want to hit on that for a second, because every time I holster my gun, guys, I carry appendix. I'm not carrying right now. My gun's in the back, but I carry appendix, right? So every time I go to holster my gun, I am pointing the gun directly at some stuff that I am absolutely not willing to destroy or put a bullet into, right? But with that in mind, that rule is in place for a reason. It's a great rule, and we need to live by it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a rule that we have to break every single time we want to holster the gun.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
So every single time I have to holster the gun, I have to point the gun by necessity at something that I never want to shoot. Right.
And to interrupt you real quick,
Sure.
that's true of almost any carry position. You're going to be pointing it either at you or even like shoulder holstering. Now you're flagging everyone that's ever behind you.
At some point in time, that muzzle is going to be oriented towards something, right? But so all of those safety rules, they all reinforce one another, right?
Mhm.
So my muzzle management matters, right? My trigger finger discipline matters,
Sure.
right? And the other thing that matters is knowing the status of the gun and making sure that it's appropriate to whatever it is that I'm going to be doing. Right?
Sure.
So understand that in order for somebody to get hurt in one of those instances, we literally have to be violating a minimum of 2 of those rules of
Sure.
safety at any one time, right?
Sure.
In other words, for me to get hurt when I'm muzzling myself with the gun in that situation, I have to be muzzling myself. I have to lose my trigger finger discipline. And in that case, I would have to be completely unaware of the status
Sure.
of the gun as well,
Sure.
right? So minimum two out of those 3 would have to get violated at any one time before somebody's going to get hurt. Not that we want to violate those rules, guys, but understand those rules are in place for a reason, and we need to abide by them.
Sure.
But we also need to realize we live in the real world, and in the real world, those things are not perfect all the time.
Sure. And you know, it kind of maybe it makes us sound a little full of ourselves, but we are professionals and we know what we're doing, and we know the right way to do things and the appropriate time to do things, you know.
And the appropriate status of that the gun should be in before we start doing something like
Absolutely.
that. So I'm not going to just bring a gun off the shelf over here, make some assumption that everybody that ever has picked that gun up cleared it out.
I mentioned this earlier.
Right, exactly. Right. So this is how many times in the short period of time, this what, 6 years you guys have been open?
Well, that's probably just, when did you make this box? When did you put this box out here? Like a few months ago?
Yeah, that's about a year in the making.
No.
So yeah, just in the past like 12 to 18 months, guys, this is how many different occasions on which somebody has come in here and told one of us behind the gun counter that the gun is unloaded. Okay. And then, yeah, Roger, let's go ahead and clear it out real quick. And then bang, we end up with ammunition on the gun counter, on the floor, or something like that. One of these came from a gun that was literally pointed at my chest.
Me too.
And Tyler's had the same thing occur, right? So every time you guys come in here and you point a gun at my chest, just understand that I don't like it. Right?
Just to put that out there. you
Yeah,
know?
just I don't like people pointing guns at me, so please don't. But then along with that, just have the action open. But if the gun isn't in a case, guys, please just bring it in here with the action open and go ahead and orient that muzzle toward the ceiling for me. Because if you orient it toward the floor in the event of a discharge, that concrete is going to create a ricochet.
Right.
I have no idea where that bullet's going,
Right.
and neither do you.
Right.
Right. So let's be really conscious of, when I say muzzle management, I'm thinking conscious decision of where that muzzle should be pointed in a direction where I'm going to eliminate the possibility of death or personal injury to me or somebody else.
Right. Nice. How we doing over there, Ty? What else we got?
I've got a few questions,
So-
but I'm going to ask a fellow one. You guys are slow tonight. Come on. Drink your coffee. It's fine. We love it.
Out there, did everybody turn us off?
Actually, 3,416.
Not bad. Down a little bit. That's
Yeah,
okay.
that number's all right.
That's all right.
Where's your favorite place you've been, Brandon and Pat? If you had to pick one place to go back to, one place from your childhood, where
Favorite place
do
I've
you?
ever been?
Yeah, country, world.
That's a tough one. Just out of left field. Man, I would say I really like, we haven't been able to do it as regularly as I'd like to, but I really like when we go down to Knob Creek in Kentucky. That is just a fun time, Knob Creek. If you've never been, look that up on YouTube. I would love if they do, I know they're not going to do a fall one this year. If they do a spring one, 2021, we would love to organize like a big group trip. We'll like rent a tour bus or something. We'll watch like cool war movies like Black Hawk Down and The Dirty Dozen, like on the way down.
Oh, yeah.
And we'll do, like basically, what is it, like a 10-hour drive? Maybe we'll do like a 10-hour, like, questions and answers, like hanging out with the gun crew here,
That'd be
we could have a lot of fun. And again, as the resident fitness expert here, Louisville, Kentucky also has the best restaurant in the world, which is Jeff Ruby's Steakhouse. Just absolutely fantastic. Quick story. The first year Tyler took me to Knob Creek, that was like Tyler's thing that him and his grandfather went to every year. And so Tyler, after his grandfather passed away, he still wanted to go, like in his grandfather's memory, and obviously wanted me to come with him. Me and his grandfather were pretty tight as well. So we all went down there. It was actually Tyler, myself, and another friend of mine, Garrett. And we go down there. We're just down in Louisville, just hanging out, And when I travel, I'm a fan of steak, if you couldn't tell. And I just looked up, like, yeah, what's like the best steakhouse, like in Louisville? And it was Jeff Ruby's. And we go there, and wearing what we're wearing, just normal off the street clothes.
I think you were wearing that exactly.
I might have actually been wearing this very cool Led Zeppelin shirt. And we walked in there, and it was like we went back to like the 1920s, like Art Deco, everything. There's literally like a bar up on top, or there's a piano, full size, like grand piano, like up on top of the bar. And there's a guy like in a full suit playing like just classy, jazz type-ish music, everyone's in a suit. We're like that's like the high society spot, literally like $100 steaks, like Smith and Wolenski's, or like any of those high-end places in New York City, like just, Ruth Chris's Steakhouse, like
right.
who, like, garbage compared to Jeff Ruby. So very long answer. I'm sorry I always do this, but that's my like a Knob Creek trip with a stopover at Jeff Ruby's. That's it for me. What about you, Pat? Iraq or Afghanistan? No, I'm just kidding. Right? No, sorry.
You know what? No, I love spending time with my guys in Iraq. That was like looking back on it now, right? Like I have some of the best memories of my life from there. Obviously, like being there was awful, right? And just on a day-to-day basis.
Could we do maybe a series? I'm sorry to put you in the spot like this. Sure. Could we do a series where we maybe on Google look up maybe places you've been and you rate them? Like, have you seen people do that? Rate this well, that place sucks.
I would love to do that. I don't think most people give a shit what I think about a lot of these topics, right? Generally
well,
speaking.
let us know.
Yeah, if you guys do give a shit what I have to say, please keep it to yourself. No, I'm just kidding. So, no, but I think my favorite place, honestly, was probably Fort Riley, Kansas.
Cool.
And I think the reason is because my family was there for a time. Like we were all together, right? I had my wife and all three of my kids
that's
there
pretty cool.
with me. So that was
you guys lived on the base?
Yeah, we lived on post. So I was only around military people all the time.
Yeah.
I was always, with guys from my unit. I was always with their families. I was always with other soldiers, and my family was always around other soldiers. And that became like our family and our community.
Sure.
But also, I got to go to the field a bunch with those guys. I have so many great memories. I have so many great friends from those times that obviously I'm still very close to those guys. We reunite, semi-regularly.
Yeah.
So, I think just in terms of the memories that I've made there and the connections that I have with the place and just what it's done for me moving forward in my life, I think probably Fort Riley would have to be. How long did you live there? We were there for 6 years.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. So we were obviously there were 2 deployments in there as well.
So that's
you
lived there, and then that's when you were deployed.
Yeah, those were that was both my deployments were out of Fort Riley, right? So I was with 1st Infantry Division on both those deployments. And so all my time was with 1st ID. And so that's the only real military home I ever knew.
Sure. I don't want to ask maybe a question. Maybe we should bring April out here for this one sometime.
Oh, she would definitely.
I would love to know, you weren't deployed other than those 2 times, correct? You deployed those
2 deployments.
I would just love to hear maybe her talk about what it was like being deployed while living, from her side of it, living with the kids,
living
on
all
post,
by herself,
but living also on post versus if you had just been if she'd been at your house. Because
she was there for a bit, when I first deployed.
Yeah.
So I'll give you guys a quick little rundown of this.
We'll get to you, Ty. Don't worry.
So
keep it there.
So I went in February 2006. I went down to basic.
Okay.
And then when I graduated basic, I went I went home for 2 weeks leave. And then after my 2 weeks leave, I did a week of hometown recruiter assistant. So I got an additional week home with the wife and the kids.
That's cool.
And then,
so you were already married. You already had kids when you
I was already married. I had 2 boys as a young soldier, right?
Yeah.
So then I get orders to go down to Fort Riley. So, I report down there. And one day we went to the replacement unit, which where you actually get your duty assignment.
Yeah.
And so I went to replacement, and this is how I figured out what unit I was going to be in. They held up 2 patches, right? They held up the 1st ID patch, and they held up the 1st armored patch.
Yeah.
And the lady was like, "Which one?" Like that was, she puts it all on. I'm a brand new private. Like which one of these units? And I knew about
patch
the,
design guy starts sweating. Like
I knew about like the first ID, right? The big
Yeah.
red one.
Sure.
Obviously, we all know,
Sure.
right? So that was cool. And then I saw the first armored patch, and I was like, all right, tanks, get it.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. So I was like, well, what is the what difference does it make to me? And she was like, well,
Look at the patches.
these guys.
Yeah.
She's like, well, these guys first ID are deploying like within 90 days. These guys are like rolling. They're
Yeah.
already in their pre-deployment,
Yeah.
train ups and all that stuff. Like they were already on leave by the time I got assigned to the unit. Like
Oh,
all the
wow.
guys had gone home on block leave and stuff. We were on half-day schedules.
Yeah.
So the first 80 guys, I found out they weren't deploying until February or something the following year. So I would have
Sure.
had like 5-6
And
months.
at this
but then
time,
I'm
you're
still deploying, right?
you're like,
Well, so I
get
know
me
I'm
to the fight. You know
well,
what I
either
mean?
way, I'm gonna. Well, yeah, no, I wanted to go because that's why I enlisted, right?
Sure.
Was to go and fight in the war.
Yeah.
But also, like, I also knew that the sooner I went on the deployment, the sooner I was going to be back home with my
Sure.
wife and my
Sure.
kids, right? So I told the lady that I wanted the first infantry division patch, and she was like,
Nice.
okay. So she got me some orders. you know,
Okay.
yeah, generated those orders, and she's like, all right, here's your patch, and I popped that thing on.
Pretty cool.
And like now I'm in 1st Infantry Division. Okay, cool. So I get on the horn with the wife later that night, and I was like, yeah, don't worry. I was like, get on the list for housing, but don't worry about moving anytime soon. I talked to my unit, and they said I can be like a geographical bachelor until
That's
the
cool.
deployment.
Yeah.
So they like shoved me in the barracks somewhere, like just be quiet and don't let anybody know you're here kind of deal.
Yeah.
And so I ended up living by myself. Well, not by myself. I ended up living with some other like soldiers who were like single guys
Sure.
until the deployment. And then I was like gone downrange someplace, and we ended up getting extended.
Oh, wow.
So April was like still here, and she's like on the list for housing and stuff, but she hadn't moved yet.
Gotcha.
So we're like 6 months into a deployment, and I call home and I was like, yeah, remember we were going to come home in like 6 months. Just kidding. It's going to be 9 months. And she was like, well, I'm already on the list. Should I like not get off the list or give somebody else my slot? And I was like, no, absolutely not. Like, wouldn't it make more sense for you to like be on Riley
Sure.
when I get home?
Sure.
So she was like, absolutely. And she ended up moving, I think that October
Wow.
or November.
Wow.
So it was just like, 3 or 4 months before we were coming back from the deployment. And by the time I showed up down there, she and Sean had like gotten all settled in on
That's
post.
awesome. Yeah.
And so, yeah, they were there like at the.
So she actually did kind of have both. She did have both.
She did have both
Like,
experiences,
just a home,
right?
home,
Yeah,
you know,
the first
like-
one she was like at home and stuff like that with her family for a good chunk of it, not all of it.
Yeah.
But she and then she got to the unit and she was, then she's pretty much on her own. Didn't know anybody.
Sure.
The whole unit's gone. There's really no FRG is there, but there's nobody there to like take her into the fold and say,
Sure.
all right, this is how life here is, and this is what goes on. So that was difficult. But then when I got home, we were just all together, and it was pretty cool. So then the next deployment, she was already on post. We already had
Sure.
a third son at this point.
Sure.
So, then she's there with 2 kids, but she has the whole support system.
Now she knows. Yeah.
Now she knows what's going on. She was
Sure.
also like helping to lead the unit's FRG at that point,
That's
inside
cool.
the family readiness group.
Yeah.
So she was like involved in, all of that kind of stuff. So she had a lot more support on that second deployment, like from the unit.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Okay, Ty, what's your
Ty, what's your favorite place, man?
Stupid favorite place. It's probably
I know where it is. I know.
Skate park, right?
I do like the skate park, but most people from Virgin don't. I've left Virgin.
That windowless building over by the thruway. Get all the bathhouse of some kind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Admitting I'm from Virgin, and then like the first place is going to be a weird jump. The first one, Knob Creek was mine. Kentucky's mine. I'm going to go into that a little bit. The first place on my list is Detroit. I went to Detroit last year, and that place was awesome. I got to see Ice Cube live, so that was an awesome trip. I love the architecture in Detroit. It's obviously all broken windows now, but just how their houses are. I really like their architecture. And Kentucky will always have a special place with my heart. Knob Creek, Jeff Ruby's. Knob Creek is just amazing. Just going on the helicopter ride that you took me on that one time, watching the machine guns just blast off with tracers. Kentucky's just amazing. It's so American down there. So it's a different air. A lot more cigarettes, but it's definitely free air.
Oh man, yeah, that Huey ride. There is a group, I believe it's called Huey 369. I've got their American Huey. Yeah, American Huey, right? Yeah. So these guys, super cool group of people. They are at Knob Creek twice a year when they do it, and I think they have 3, maybe even 4 now, like genuine Hueys that were flown in Vietnam and then sent to different like air guard units, and then they've acquired them. And the first year, like when you go to Knob Creek, you'll see this thing just flying around, whatever. And you're like, all right, that's pretty cool. And you go over to where it is, and it's $100 it's $100 to join their club. And now you're a club member, and every club member for $100, they get 1 free ride in the copter a year, right?
Cool.
Pretty cool. And it's like a solid 15-minute ride, which doesn't sound like that much, but it is so worth it to fly literally in, that feeling when you hold an M1 Garand or like one of those old actual like Colt, like AR-15s from back in the 60s. Like you are literally flying in a piece of history with this Huey. And the pilots that they have, I don't know about every time, but the first time we went, the pilot that we had was a 75-year-old guy who literally flew these Hueys when he was like 19 or 20 in Vietnam,
Right.
like over enemy. And like you are flying this thing. And I think the guy has like a flashback he thinks he's 19 again, because you'll be flying that thing and he'll just, and like the doors are open. You're sitting there on the side, you're strapped in, the door's open, your feet are hanging out. They've got a dummy M60 there that you can like have fun with if you're the middle guy. And he'll take a turn and you're looking straight at the ground or straight up or whatever. You can tell that old timer's having fun up there, like in his head, like, like up there, and they'll get you low. I think it's the Ohio River. There's a river that's like right there.
Probably would be the Ohio.
I think it is. But he'll like fly over the river. There's like a big farm field. He'll get you. I mean, it's just cool.
Yeah.
I don't know what all these Vietnam guys are complaining about. I literally said that. So like you get done with it and you get off the bird and they take your picture, like a big cool group picture, and the pilot comes out and he's got this big shitting grin and he's like, what did you think of that? Like, it's pretty fun. And those of you that know me, my father's a Vietnam vet. So I felt had this connection, with Vietnam vets.
Sure.
And I looked right at him, like straight in his face. I was like, I don't know what you guys are complaining about, like Vietnam. Oh, like that was fun. And he's like, oh yeah, it's fun now, But they are a great group. Again, it's American Huey 369, and literally like the helicopter that we flew in had received like combat damage. Like it was shot down in combat in Vietnam.
Yeah.
And flew back. I remember the first one we flew on, it flew back to the base with no skids, like the landing skids.
So just had to set it
They
down.
they like radioed, I'm sure they radioed back.
Right.
They had to radio back to the base, and they built like a sandbag thing, and it landed on like its belly or whatever.
Yeah.
And then so you're like, I want to fly in that thing. Like you see pictures of it or whatever. But yeah, they are building like the only Huey museum in the world. I can't remember. I think they're out of Illinois. I'm pretty sure they're out of Illinois. They're not really close to here, but they're somewhere out west there. I'm pretty sure it's Illinois. And they're building a very cool museum. I've been very happy to support them. I actually supported them last year. Whenever they send me a thing, I renew my membership.
Sure.
And I've renewed it a couple times and not been able to fly with them. But just the mission is just so cool.
Yeah.
They've got several planes. Like I said, I think they've got I know they've got 3 flying ones.
That's
and I want to say they have another they're going to put on like static display. So yeah, super fun.
It's pretty rad. Ty, what else you got, buddy?
It is fun. It's a fun time. The gun show is awesome.
Yeah, you want to see a real gun show? Like if you've only ever been to a New York gun show, you've never been to a real gun show.
Right.
Go to the Knob Creek gun show. Like you'll see real gun show stuff. Yeah, it's fun.
Question from my own grandmother. Mary asks, any more information on Mission 22?
So I haven't really heard much. I'll be honest, like we did the fundraiser for them last year. Obviously, they are still killing it. They're doing a great job.
Yeah, the mission there is still ongoing.
They've got tons of programs that they do. they're one of those groups. They are the big group that raises money, and then they like to support some smaller groups and really just branch off and help them. So those of you that helped and those of you that remember, we did a huge fundraiser. We raised $9,000 for Mission 22 that we gave them last year. What was it, September, I want to say?
September.
Yeah, something like that. We did a 5K run. So this year, we talked about it on the last live stream. This year, we're going to have to change things up just because of, what everything's going on right now. So we've got a couple ideas in the works. I know for sure we're going to do like a telethon type of live stream where we're just going to stay up here until you shut us up with money. Classic.
I like it.
And we're going to try to do a couple different virtual 5Ks. I know Josh has been looking into I know there's an app you can get and you run it at your own pace in your
Right.
own street or whatever, and you upload it. Or we were joking it'd be funny if we could just get a bunch of people to live stream from their treadmills thing all at the
Right.
same time, whatever we can do. We definitely want to do some type of event, and we'll let you know as we get closer.
Yeah, we're gonna keep working on more creative ideas, and we're gonna come up with something really good. But we do want to do some more charitable stuff this year.
Yeah.
And obviously, those missions are super important to all of us.
Super important.
Michael J.
Thoughts? No.
No,
Okay.
not him.
Just curious.
Another Michael J.
Okay.
A
Cool.
last name that it's really hard. Burditch. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Wants to, I guess this answer is for newer people. I don't know that if he's new or not, but he just wants to know when selecting bulk ammunition online, why would brand and grainage matter?
Sure. So it really determines what you're trying to do. If you're just shooting to have fun, doesn't matter as much. Take what you can get. Ammo's ammo. I always recommend when someone has a firearm that's new to them, and they are trying to push its boundaries of accuracy, right? I believe it was Colonel Cooper who said the only interesting firearm is an accurate one. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. I know that's a quote. I might have screwed up who said it. Might have been, doesn't matter. Might have been the other guy. But Wayland. Might have been Wayland from the 35 Wayland cartridge.
could have been, yeah.
Might have been him. But anyways, if you really want to test your rifle or firearms accuracy, I would get several different brands, several different grain weights.
Absolutely.
And that is what a hand loader will do in a very, very fastidious and tedious way. You start with this grain and these powders, and you can get deep into the weeds if you're trying to eke out every bit of precision. Basically, each gun, yes, every 5.56 will shoot all of their 5.56s, but through manufacturing processes, every gun is a little bit different. Sure. And every cartridge is a little bit different. So sometimes you can find that sweet spot of, this rifle loves Winchester White Box and it shoots sub MOA groups. But if I switch over to Federal XM193, which is the same spec, it'll shoot it just fine, shoot it safely. I get 3-inch groups, at 100 yards. So, does it matter? Yes. Does it matter? No. It really just depends on what you're trying to do. At this point, take what you can get.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you have anything else.
Well, as far as different weight bullets, right? To understand that Brandon hit it on the head, right? Different applications are going to dictate different types of ammo, right?
Sure.
So, for some things, I might want for target shooting generally, 55 or 62 grain ammunition.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not overly picky, right? With my long gun. But if I can tailor my specific load to a gun, I happen to know that my individual 10.5-inch pistol with a 1 1/8-inch twist carbine length barrel really likes 64 grain, not trophy bonded bear claw, spear point, or I'm sorry, I forget the manufacturer, but pointed soft points.
Okay. Yeah.
Really
sure.
64 grain pointed soft points.
Sure.
So that happens to be a really good weight, a bullet, and that happens to be a really good defensive load. So when I can find some again, I want to stock up on
Yeah.
that 64 grain pointed soft. That is a great defensive round. I know that my rifle is very accurate with it. And as far as performance wise, I think it's going to give me everything that I want in terms of a bullet that expands and delivers good, terminal effects on a target, but it's
Yeah.
also going to not be something where I'm risking a lot of over penetration on the back
Sure.
side.
Sure.
Right. So, different ammunition has different characteristics depending on whether or not we need expanding stuff for some specific applications versus if we want, frangible stuff for a different target shooting type application or an indoor type situation, or, we might want, just regular FMJ to just go out and punch holes in paper, right? So all of those different, bullets are going to have different energy, characteristics, and they're all going to have different penetrating characteristics as well. So for certain applications, we just need to be a little bit more selective.
I love it. I love it.
I love you.
I'll stop.
Kevin Benjamin, his second question. This is a radio question.
Ooh.
Do it.
Kevin has an HT1000.
Great radio.
1250. Pretty cool radio as well.
Very cool radio.
He wants to know which is better for the repeater. He also adds to that, he's waiting for the Naples site.
Sure, probably Bristol. I'm assuming.
Yeah.
The Bristol Mountain one. Just to correct you. So save that one maybe for our radio live stream next week. That'll be Wednesday. We do that every other week. I really can't speak. I don't personally have any experience with the 1250. I have several HT1000s. I would say any Motorola radio will do amazing on that repeater. As long as it's UHF and it's a Motorola, it's going to do great. Right. So it's really at that point, it's whatever radio you like. I'm assuming the 1250 is a little newer than the 1000 because that's how numbers work. But
higher numbers,
context clues. So many of our people run HT1000s. You really, for the price, we sell them here like programmed battery charger, good to go, $125, ready to go.
Solid deal.
Oh, it's great. It's absolutely great. And they are very durable. I mean, that was $1,000 radio when it was new back in like the early 90s when $1,000 was a lot of money.
Right.
Not that it's not now, but the 1250, I'm sure it's got some cooler features or newer features. Maybe it's got a screen. I'm not really sure. Andrew would know. He's typing furiously, I'm sure, in the comments. But you can certainly use both of those. I'm sure you could for the repeater. What was the second part of the question? I can't remember. Bristol. Yeah. So that one likely will be several months out, right? Probably more October, November timeframe from when we get that one on. Really, what we need help with is just getting connections out there. Obviously there are people that come from that Finger Lakes region to come here, but not as many as that come from the Attica coverage zone. Like the Attica coverage zone is really our home. The Bristol site, while we should be able to reach from here, and most people should be able to, that really does favor more on the east side and the southern tier and into the Finger Lakes region. So what we would love are maybe some partners, if people know of any, or if you're watching any kind of related type of storefront where you've got people like-minded like us that would be interested in backup communications, send us an email. Info 575.com, or sell me your gun at Gmail. Just hit us up somehow on Facebook or many platforms, and we'll be in touch. I think we've got some pretty cool programs that we're gonna offer to people that would be interested. We'd love to offer them like on consignment, basically, where we'll just give you radios and we'll log how many you have, and you try to sell them. And then as you sell them, you'll make money, in your store. And maybe even if you sign people up for the repeater, you'll make, a little bit off of that. Every month. So cool. We would love to find some partners with that, and we could really use your help. So that would be great.
Absolutely.
Ty.
I don't even know if I want to say his name. He's just, I don't know. I'm just kidding. Ed McCaffrey. He wants to know if the range is open.
It is. Absolutely, Ed. Where have you been, buddy? The range is 100% open. The range has been open since phase 4. All right. So I'm sure you've been eating chicken wings. I know you, Ed. Love you, buddy. Great to hear from you. I didn't know that Ed owned a computer. So this is a pretty obviously if you know us, the more we pick on you, the more we like you. So please, Ed, stop asking me to support Ducks Unlimited. I'm just kidding. Of course, we love all of the groups. Please, if you're out there and you are a member, or you help any kind of 2A or pro hunting, anything to do with the outdoors, hit us up. I'll be honest, I generally don't support, my cousin Billy's fundraiser because his dog died and his house burned down. You just have to draw a line somewhere. So we support a lot of things here in Virgin. We really try to be good, members of our society and of our community. But for sure, any kind of like Second Amendment cause or anything like I just spoke about, hunting, conservation, hit us up. So yeah, range is open. Only 4 lanes. We've got to do every other. So only 4 lanes. But yeah, range is good to go, buddy.
I've got nothing. Nobody wants to say anything. We're at
That's
the
fine.
hour and a half mark.
That's fine. Pat, I guess, did you have anything else from the tactical games? Any like takeaways? How did you finish overall? I know you did, what was it, 16th in your?
It was 19, yeah.
19?
They updated the score. So
That's all right.
I had gone on.
That's all right.
I had sent you a
Somebody
message.
cheated in
and I was
there, I'm
like,
sure. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe somebody disputed the scores
Must be.
with somebody, I don't know. But yeah, so I ended up 19th in the division, the intermediate division, which again, there were like 70 guys.
Excellent.
So, and the competition there, listen, the competition was very, very good. Everybody came ready to go for the most
Sure.
part. I mean, everybody came ready to go with something, right? Some guys were a little bit better on the fitness side and not as on the shooting side. We saw
Sure.
a little bit of that.
Sure.
And some of those guys were like not brand new to shooting, but like
Newer.
right? Didn't have their own gear in some cases,
Sure.
or really serviceable gear. So they were just working with whatever they could, but they were super fit guys and they were really fired up to be there and to push their, fitness capabilities and all that stuff.
Sure.
And then other guys were out there that were awesome shooters that, maybe the conditioning side of the house could use a little bit more
Sure.
attention or whatever. And those guys, their shooting, some of them, carried them way up the leaderboard,
Sure.
and
There
good
was a
for
guy
them.
you were saying that was more maybe on my side of the physical scale,
More-
but
Outwardly,
was a shooter.
that was like my guess, right?
Sure.
But the guy was an
he
absolute
clearly could
stud.
compete. He completed the event.
Right.
Yeah,
the guy
he
was
wasn't-
an absolute stud, and he
Yeah.
came ready to go too, right?
So just like me. He was just like me.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
100%, like a sleeper, right?
okay.
So no, but ultimately, like, stay humble or get humbled was
Sure.
one of the like really big takeaways, right? Because
Yeah.
ultimately,
There you
like,
go.
I went, thinking I was going to be somewhere in the middle of the pack initially, and then after the first event, I was like, man, I could do pretty well here, like based on that one event,
Yeah.
and I was feeling pretty good. And then the second event, I was like, man, I am in the deep end of day one. I was like, oh, this was a terrible mistake, right?
Yeah.
But then, the next day you get up and you're ready to go again. And I crushed it on that first event, mediocre on the second, crushed it on the third event, right?
Nice.
So there's something
Nice.
there that's going to challenge anybody that goes. So no matter who you are, I feel like you're going to learn something about your gear, yourself, and your ability when you go out there.
Nice.
So that's
So yeah, I guess just to kind of talk about our plans for the future in that regard, yourself and Steve Filano from 2A and
for
myself,
now just us three, right?
Yeah,
As of right now.
we were talking today, and we're going to start. We have already reached out. As you know, we're working behind the scenes now to bring Polar Wave up to speed as an outdoor range. So really, like once that happens, set up with the tactical games folks.
For the
And
skirmishes.
we're going to be doing skirmishes. So what skirmishes are a one-day event, right? With generally 3, but maybe 4 events,
3 to
right?
4 battles per day.
The right battles, and they are a lower cost, obviously, because like the full 2-day event was $300, right?
It's expensive for a lot of people.
But
It's not real
But it
expensive.
really is, like when you compare to other competitions, or like if you look at what a Tough Mudder would cost for you to do, like
Right.
it's pretty in line with some of those.
Yeah.
And again, I mentioned this before. There is a third, we talked about like that Olympic approach where I want to be in the podium, and more of the, like, I'll call it the practical approach where this is me and I just want to do a shakedown, right? And then I don't necessarily agree with this, but it's not wrong. There are some people that treat these as training events too, where they don't have the skills or knowledge, so they just kind of figure it out on their
muddle
own,
their way
and
through, right?
I guess my problem with that is if you don't have, like, that's a good idea if you can convince like a coach maybe to come with you and to watch you and to help you and just or maybe you have your wife like filming you or something, and then you're going to watch it later with a coach or something like that. I can see the benefit to it. I wouldn't use it like I've never taken training. I've watched YouTube videos and now I'm coming to a match. Like this one wasn't my favorite for that purpose. There might be some that are better for that than
Right.
others. But yeah,
To me, the issue that you run into there is, we talk about being able to use your tool at like the subconscious level
Mhm.
to where when you get fatigued and your judgment starts to, get a little bit cloudy, or your cognitive processing takes a little bit longer, because you're just not thinking in a linear way like you normally would be. If you're not totally dialed in with your equipment then and there, you could potentially run into some safety issues
Sure.
for other people, right?
Sure.
So that's my main issue there, is like, I would hate to be the guy that puts somebody else at risk because
sure.
I'm woefully out of my depth, and now I've
Right.
got a gun in my hand,
Right.
and I make a judgment error because I'm not thinking right.
Right.
I'm compromised in that way.
Very cool. But yeah, so we definitely will be bringing this type of firearm activity to Polar Wave, to Western New York, and really the Northeast region. There's not a lot. I mean, the SIG event is in New Hampshire.
That's the first one that they've had in New
Like,
England.
anywhere above
right now.
Pennsylvania, really.
Right.
Yeah. So we love, and this was one of Steve's points when he originally reached out to the two of us to hey guys, we should really
we
do
should
this.
do this, yeah.
And it's just that big, FUAC to New York. Yeah, we are going to do badass gun competitions here. We are going to be running and gunning and training, and you can't stop us, And
a whole lot they can do.
maybe we're going to have to use mean arm loaders, because there are some stages you need to have 16 rounds, in your rifle. Maybe we have a bunch of loaner complete lowers, and maybe you bring your upper and you're renting the gun from us, just like here at the Firing Pin, we can have whatever we want. Maybe that's the workaround, right? Maybe we were talking about this would be kind of fun. A lot of us are into MilSerp and the older type of firearms. Maybe we have a division where you're running World War II stuff, and everyone's got bolt actions anyways. It doesn't matter, everyone's only got 5 or 6 rounds, no matter what they've brought. So we will definitely be bringing you some stuff that just has never been done around here. Obviously there's the IPSC, there's USPSA, there is competitive shooting around here. Not trying to say we're bringing competitive shooting to the area,
Right.
but this is just another, the guys that are doing those kind of shoots, we hope they come to ours as well and
For
train.
sure,
It's a
yeah.
completely different experience. And I just think it's something that a lot of you want to do. Let us know down below. And again, you're going to be seeing this stuff real soon from us. As soon as we can make it happen, we'll be doing it.
Yeah.
So very cool. Ty, you got any the final things, or anybody else?
All of these beautiful people start asking questions as the live stream is ending. It's
Oh,
hard.
maybe we get some lightning round ones.
Yeah, hit 1 or 2 real quick.
Okay. Well, some of these are hard to hit real quick. I guess a real quick one is how long will the range be at Polar Wave?
So we will have several ranges. So right now I've got 2 bays that are 30 yards long and about 30 yards wide. So just slightly bigger than what we've got here at the Pin already. There's 2 of those. I hope to eventually have 4, right? We've got a main hill, I would say, inside of the hill there. And that's probably 30 to 40 deep. And then
Yeah,
it's hard to say. I mean, it
where the
depends
line
you
is,
go.
where
Yeah.
that barrier, where those
Mhm.
barriers are, I pace that off, and just based on my pace count, it's about 38 yards
Sure.
from there to the backstop.
And that's a very tactical range. It's very wide. It's probably 50 yards wide, maybe, or maybe not
Yeah.
quite, but it's very wide. You can set it up kind of however you want. And then there's going to be a 200-yard dedicated range. So all of these things can be operating at the same time.
Right.
Everybody can do things independently of each other. There'll be a dedicated 200-yard range for rifle shooting.
Just on the opposite side of that hill over there. Yeah.
Yep, over there. And then for this one, I think we'd have to have everything else shut down, but we'll be able to reach out to 500 yards. If we go up on top of the hill and shoot diagonally through the property, we'll be able to hit 500 yards.
We've already had targets out there that our man Sniper Dan, myself, Josh, we're all out there several months ago, and we were up on the berm. We had targets set up. The close one was 320. The far one was 412, and we were all able to shoot targets at over 400 yards there.
Nice.
So
Yeah.
the
So that'll bring a
capability is
whole-
definitely there. Yeah.
That'll bring a whole nother layer to things as well.
Yeah,
Just
if we
being
can
able
get
to
some really
reach out
challenging
like that.
targets out there, that's a game changer, right? So
Super cool. What else you got, Ty?
Again, very hard to answer quickly, but let's do this a little quickly. Red dots, irons, and holographics. Pluses and minuses for all of them.
Maybe we should save that one. Maybe we can
That's
like
what I'm
write that
saying.
one
It's
down.
hard.
That's a really good question because we could spend 30 minutes probably talking about that one.
We'll write that down for next week.
Yeah, let's jot
Yeah.
that down, and we're gonna start to like maybe we could even use that as like a jumping off point to start the
Sure.
topic of next week,
Sure.
right? Because
It's a really
I
good
do
one.
think like as far as like unmagnified optics, we could talk a good long time
Yeah.
about some of the differences there between like a red dot setup versus a holographic setup. What
Yep.
do those even mean? Right, because not everybody's even familiar with what
Sure.
a holographic sight actually is.
Sure.
And then iron sights are, obviously their own whole different animal. So yeah, we'll definitely hit hard on that next week because I think that's a great topic.
Yeah.
I'll also do some background work and I'll gather holographics in different sites. So
That'd be cool.
We can show them off.
Yeah, we all have different sites
Yeah,
too
I'll do that in
that
the
we have
background.
access to. Yeah, we'll get that done.
Again, another quick question, I guess. What do you think about getting a 22 to help offset the use of ammo for training? Because ammo is hard to find.
So for a long gun setup, myself and Steve are actually talking about this. If I'm going 22 as a supplement to say my AR-15,
Sure.
right? I'm losing out on quite a bit of training value there, just in terms of I don't have any real recoil to speak of with the 22
Yeah.
Magnum.
Yeah.
But even though there's some things that I don't have working in my favor, I still have to build a really stable position. I still have to have great alignment or great placement on my sight.
Sure.
I still have to have great trigger control, and I still have to have good follow through.
Mhm.
So if I make the target challenging, right,
Sure.
then that can
Sure.
definitely be a great workaround because you still get, I would say, 70% or so of the training value,
Sure.
right? Because
Sure.
the marksmanship fundamentals are still
Fundamentals
in
are
play,
fundamentals. Yep.
right? And
Yep.
they don't change all that much. With a handgun, I'd say the value is even higher. I'd say you're getting more like 80 or 85% of the training value.
Sure.
And in particular, when we go with something, I was reaching for a Glock 44 that's not there anymore.
Wow, I'm surprised. We had what, like 2 or 3?
We had 4 or 5 of those
Wow.
guys recently.
Yeah.
But if I, as a Glock 19 guy, right, if I am using my Glock 44, now, despite the fact that this gun does have a plastic slide, okay, it is the exact same size and similar enough in weight to a Glock 19 to kind of be a reasonable
And a 22
facsimile.
handgun will give you enough, you know what I mean? Like
I read
yeah, you
a
don't feel
little
any-
bit, right? So yeah, you definitely still get a little bit of that recoil. But again, the sight alignment, the control of the trigger, the follow through, getting my sights back to that target.
Sure.
And, as far as like the good gun handling techniques
Sure.
of being able to unload the gun and obviously, or unload the gun, reload the gun, whatever I got to do, clearing malfunctions. And obviously with a 22 long rifle, there's the potential that I could be clearing a
You're gonna
bunch
get
of
more,
malfunctions,
yeah.
right? Because
Need a lot of good
rimfire
practice.
ammunition is generally less reliable,
Yep.
right? It's not always going to feed as easily. It's not always going to detonate primers just because the priming compound in the rim. And we're also, potentially, if we start running some lead ammunition, we're going to run into some issues with extraction as the gun gets dirtier and stuff like that too. So, the opportunity is there to mix in a lot of malfunction clearances and different stuff like that. But yeah, I would say that you are losing some training value there,
Yeah.
but I think the training value is high enough to make the juice worth the squeeze.
And that's basically what I was going to say. It's one of those, like, if you can't get ammo now and the option is to not shoot at all,
Not shoot a 22.
or shoot a 22, shoot a 22. Absolutely. Or if you're a new shooter, that was going to be before you started talking, like if I had gone first, my thing was going to be maybe like new shooters, it makes sense, but current shooters, it doesn't. But then thinking about like everything you said, it does make sense. It is a perishable skill.
A lot of
And
training
if you
value
don't
there.
do it, yeah, like, but to underscore everything, like you said, it is not the same as shooting your full size stuff. It can't be,
Right.
but it's pretty darn close.
It
Yeah.
is, yeah.
Cool.
Say your goodbyes and I'll wrap it up.
Sounds good. Thank you, everybody, so much for joining in on another great live stream. We have so much fun with these, and we are going to keep doing them. And we did mention before we started this, we might switch things up. we're new at this. We have kind of, I guess, in a way, committed to doing a weekly show of some sorts. But you never know. We have lives of our own, of course. We have things we want to do. But we have a lot of interesting content that we want to bring you that you really can't do live. So there's so much stuff, you might see some stuff mixed in here or there that are pre-recorded. It might still be an hour plus of content, but it might be pre-recorded that we put out there. And as Pat said before, a couple weeks ago when we all couldn't be here, we've got a lot going on. So there just might be times where we can't all be here together, or just even one of us can't be here. It is hard to do all of this as just one guy. So, cut us some slack or whatever, but we'll get there. We'll do a good show for you. And we've got a lot of content. You guys keep giving us great ideas and sending us great questions, and we love it. We love the engagement. So
For sure.
please like and share this video so that more of your friends can join in. And Pat, what do you got?
So I just want to say, to follow along with what Brandon was saying, that the show itself and the way that we present some of this stuff might evolve over time. Some of it might take more of a turn down like a podcasting type route, where
Sure.
it's like we're stripping off the audio and we're bringing it to you in an audio form. If you're just rolling in the car listening,
That'd be cool.
right? You can't necessarily watch the video, but maybe you could go back and check it out, right? But just to have, some form of engagement with you guys, because you're right, we really do enjoy this stuff, and it keeps us interacting with you all, and we know that you guys enjoy it too. So we want to be there for you. It's just, the game has to keep changing, and we just want to get better and better as we go. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Ty, close it out, brother.
Guys, I know you want this brick of gold. Come on. How can you get it? Like, comment. The comments and the likes and the sharing, the three of those, that's what I look for. I kind of just select a person from the shares, and if I see you've been very active in the comments and the likes, you get bonus points. If you want this box of 9, do all of those things. Sharing really helps us. Other than that, I've got nothing. You guys stay beautiful. Thank you so much for watching every week. I really do appreciate you guys. That's it. Bye. Go home. We don't want you here. We do. We want you here.
100% we do.